Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate. Hosted today by Blacklist Thugless. You might notice I'm wearing a bit of a different headgear. I am bald, by the way. There's a lot to get into. Appreciate everybody for being here. Big personal things happen to me in my personal life, which I will probably explore. Probably just be honest with you guys. I'll probably try not to get emotional about it, just pretty heavy. So I will open up myself to that when the time comes. But with that, though, we have a lot of good stuff to get into. Potential upcoming debate between me and Zeb. No, I'm just floating that out there. But our boys at Outside the Overton took some fire from Nicholas J. Fuentes for being conspiratards. I don't know if that was the exact language or verbiage that he did use, but he ultimately has been very dismissive of anybody trying to cover the ballistics, especially with the live stream video footage that we do have. And a lot of it is because, it's from iPhones, it's from different devices. The audio itself, too, is another thing. The audio triangulation inside the cement with all the different angles, with all these different devices recording. It's some difficult stuff, so obviously a lot of people find it very easily dismissive, but it's between a rock and a hard place because the other side of that is the other alternative, which is the official narrative, and no one's willing to buy that because that is being served up and brought to you by the FBI and Mr. India himself, Patel. So nobody wants it, nobody buys it, everybody's confused, a lot of anger, a lot of mudflinging, and lo and behold, here we are once again, the right wing doing what it knows best, infighting, brawler wars, constantly targeting each other, not the left. Not figuring out the slightest bit of how to, pragmatically move something forward. It's kind of becoming an extreme, recurring pattern of the right. I think for those of us who are good at pattern recognition, why can't we recognize that we do the same shit ourselves? Forgive me, I'm trying not to cuss. There was a couple of these. Let me go to a couple of these in chat here. It looks like people have been saying a couple of things here. Yeah, new music drop. Yeah, I wanted a new intro. I wanted the other one to be like a stand-in one for Charlie Kirk. It might not be here for very long. We have Orthodox Boomer Grandma saying at 67, I've started listening to Nick. That's wonderful. Yeah, you should be. Not to say I agree with him on everything. I have one from Juan Me says, could you see if you can get in touch with P.F. Jung about this ridiculous narrative? Both sides is so outrageous. And that is actually going to be the large bulk of what we're going to talk about today, because that narrative is absolutely ridiculous on its face. I think the moment that somebody says, well, both sides, anything, the moment that somebody falls to the fallacy that is everything that's happening and what we're seeing and witnessing is equally distributed 50% on both sides of the aisle, you know that they have just admitted to you they don't pay attention. They read headlines and ultimately have no real grasp over what is actually happening. So that will be a subject of what we're going to talk about today. So for an overview, the free speech economy, largely just going to dive into the hate speech and the potential fears of a lot of people have on two ends. One, from the range and reach of what the government may possibly do in terms of response to the left for the actions happening following the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But on the other side of that, there is the hesitancy from inside the group, from those of us who are maybe a bit more libertarian-minded, isn't to take shots at those who are libertarians. If you don't already know what I think about libertarianism, I do think it is retarded. But regardless, it's something that has to be dealt with because there is a strong percentage of people who are, for lack of better words, almost unwilling to move to the position that we need them to move to, which is ostracizing and using utilities that we have at our disposal, I should say, to actually be able to begin actually cleaning up a lot of this, kind of toxic speech back and forth. But it's really not even that. It's not even that broad. It's more so specific to the fact of, can we just get the people who celebrated the death in the literal hours afterwards? Can we get those individuals to not hold jobs anymore? Can they at least not be teachers? Can they not be nurses? Can we at least do something about that, right? Because then at the other side of it, you have some nurses cheering for it. You have teachers cheering for it. And I think the logical thought as posed by Nick last night. Is that someone you trust your children to? Is it someone you trust your grandmother, or grandfather to? No. So I think we have to move to a stronger position of who we allow actually has power over us. I think that's just an insane thing to think too. If somebody has no actual cohesive connection or binding material, like we believe in the same value sets, I mean, if none of that exists, then there's no point in even being willing to say, hey, oh yeah, you should have power over me. You don't believe in anything I do. You actually seek to destroy everything that I love. But you won an election, so here you go. I mean, it can't be that way. We'll cover a little bit of Outside the Overton versus Nick, although it's not really much of a versus. This is a bit of, mud flinging back and forth, but we're getting it from both ends. And what I mean by that is we're getting it from leftists who are diving into this, liberals who are diving into this, wanting to know more answers. They're pushing it from a right-wing angle, which I think is ridiculous on its face, but also the kind of normative aspect, which is when any kind of major incident like this happens, you're going to have a bunch of people flying to TikTok wanting to cover it, or something that they may have seen in a frame. And here's what I'll say to that too. I find the anger and this kind of like manufactured, I guess anger is what it feels like, towards people who are trying to understand like what literally is going on, and they don't believe in media, they don't believe in like what's being told to them, they don't believe in pundits. Like we are in a zero trust society right now. And that is the one thing I will disagree with Nick on, is like, I get the low IQ anti-Semitism. That's a different element. But for the people who are seriously like deep diving and going, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Every waking second of these people's lives, they are being lied to. You can't trust anything. And this kind of actually goes a bit to his like doctor take, which is like, yeah, dude, I'm not going to believe in these kooks. We have people in my own Discord who had to go to outside the bound means because they were getting runarounds on tests for sciatic nerve pain. I'm sorry, like that is like, to me, that was like, if you look big picture, that was one of the dumbest things I probably ever heard. Of course, people are going to search for the answer that may not even be there, because the people who are supposed to be giving us the truth just constantly lie the whole time. Oh, forgive me. I have the chat messed up. I apologize. So if you want to hear some disagreement from me, that would be it. That would be the first point of disagreement for Fuentes there, would be, what did you expect people would do? Like, we've made it this far with being lied to over and over again. We have, not even from the JQ position, but we have just the majority of the average person sits there and goes at the 9/11 narrative and they go, I don't believe it. You don't ever get trust back like that. And to be quite frank, it's an uphill battle for the government as well. What could the government possibly do that would give you your trust back? Or I'll make it so that you trusted the government again. Like, what would the government have to do for you to trust them again? And that kind of, again, goes big picture into what Donald Trump was supposed to be. Donald Trump and everyone they brought in, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, every single one of these people was brought in and basically grafted into one big administration because they wanted to bring in people that like we would trust, that had credibility, which is why they reached into a little bit of the Podcast Bro network with Dan Bongino, which last I heard, he's on his way out, probably because that man might be the only person who's got a soul in the administration and just can't stomach what's going on. But to just think that like it's dumb for people to go on TikTok and look for the truth. It's like, bro, everyone knows that they're being lied to in some regard. So to expect them to have some kind of normative response to a political assassination like this, especially in the last week, insane, absolutely retarded. Especially when you know the average person is only probably consuming maybe like 15 to 20 minutes of substantive political news per day. And the majority of that is in clips on social media. More often than not, even furthermore than that, has a caption that's leading you to think about what you're seeing in the video clip anyways. And so I think just people just lose sight of just what is actual reality and what it's not. And I think that actually does extend a little bit to the left versus right. In terms of like topical news, though, we did get a couple wild things. That is the fact that there is strong proof, which I believe was once again obtained by Steven Crowder, which is beginning to be a little concerning that Steven Crowder has this strong of an ability to obtain internal documents, but proof that Ilhan Omar married her brother. But the reason why it's not even good news is because the response from the administration, I kid you not, I think verbatim was, we'll look into revoking her citizenship. Look into it. Even if she didn't even have a position of power, the moment that you find someone violated the terms or the criteria of what they were supposed to have on their visa that allowed them in the country in the first place, see ya, gone, bye. And it's even more so the fact that she's holding a position of power. She's like, you have to remove that person immediately. But who am I kidding? Like, and this is the other thing too. It's not like I'm expecting the Trump administration to do something that we would like or be meaningful. It's becoming expected. And anytime we have an opportunity, or the Trump, not even we, it's not me. There's no we between me and the Trump administration. And I'm sure that a lot of you feel the same way. But you have to, at some point, realize that every time there is an opportunity for the Trump administration to do something, they go, yeah, we'll deport people. And I'll just use the same example from Nick. Yeah, we need to deport people. We'll deport those who are critical of Israel. Okay. We need to crack down and clean up our colleges for all of the, the anti-white rhetoric. Okay, they go and they clean up colleges, and what do? They clean up anti-Semitism. So he's spot on the fact that like everything you get, it's like, woo, swerves over here. Oh, Israel again. Oh, wow. Oh, that's crazy. We're defending Jews again. How did we get here, guys? I have no idea. It's like, okay, come on. So it's putting me in a weird spot because I understand some of Nick's arguments and I disagree at the same time. In the same place that I'm on the other end, well, I disagree mainly and agree with Nick mainly, is I don't believe that Charlie Kirk's was like actually full on like waking up. I think in the sense that he was like waking up to who Netanyahu was and the realities of what they were doing strategically with warfare is entirely different to being adversarial to what Judaism is and its co-opting in Judeo-Christianity. So even if it was a full-on conversion, it would be like he would be moving closer to where Dave Smith is at, not where Nick Fuentes is at. And so that's kind of my take on it. That's kind of a little bit of what that's kind of a little bit what I explained on the video I made yesterday, which is trying to, explain a little bit of Nick's argument, because it seems like a lot of people still ultimately are not understanding of it. And to be fair, he doesn't make it easy to defend his stuff. And I would say he kind of even flip-flops a little bit. He even said today or yesterday that he thinks that there could be a possibility of Charlie's conversion. I disagree with that entirely. I think this is more so an attempt to, well, like I said earlier, give him a mythos, right? Build a more of a legacy of Charlie Kirk and kind of change and warp this image. Not to say he wasn't a good guy, but to make him into something that he wasn't, to rally support from people who otherwise wouldn't, if that makes sense. And then we have Destiny experiencing the consequences of his own actions. This is actually hilarious because this follows from him basically saying, I believe it was the day after or 2 days after Charlie Kirk, Destiny says something to the effect of, conservatives need to be afraid. Conservatives need to be scared. And then he ends up going to some campus tour just like Charlie Kirk, and they're screaming at him. They're asking him, how long until you suck dick? Like they're yelling at him. Good. And he got hassled quite a bit. So we'll watch a few of those. We'll see what he's getting hassled about, and you can see his response. But the guy's just a joke. And he was demonetized on YouTube. I don't believe he has been permabanned or banned at all yet, but he has been demonetized. Now, I don't believe there was any specific video he posted that they demonetized him for. I think it was just an executive decision on the fact that he has refused to disavow the violence in general. So, good. There was this funny like leak that he had been banned on or suspended on Twitch, but the reality is, because people don't follow this as much, he's been suspended on Twitch, I believe, since like 2023. So he did that to, again, gloat and be glib about these things. And so a lot of people fell for it because he does stream on Kick. But again, don't feel bad that you don't know that, because why would anybody know what Destiny's streaming schedule was unless they were a deranged leftist or they were a hate watcher, one of the two. And we'll cover a little bit more on the Kirk assassination. There's been a few changes to what we've seen overall with that. New evidence is a far cry, I would say, but just like more things to consider is probably the best way to characterize that or articulate what that would be. And I apologize, I didn't have the chat up for a little bit. I'm going to pay attention to it now. We have B. It says, once Nick's following base becomes officially mainstream, you'll see what his true character is. If you guys got duped by Trump, you're not surviving Nick. Well, that's the thing. Is like I'm not disavowing Nick. I'm not doing this thing where I'm like, oh, he sold out. Oh my gosh, I should have known the whole time. I'm like, no, like can we just like please pump the brakes? Like, I personally am not convinced it was Israel. That doesn't mean I'm saying that Tyler Robinson did it, no reservations. It's exactly how it happened. Right? Do we see how there's so much ground in between there? Now, the caveat I would add in addition to there, what I would be like, okay, true, all of the intelligence agencies are intertwined together. There's some level of where you could go, okay, like they're in tandem, they're coordinated. What level, how blurred are those lines? I would say, okay, maybe there's an argument there with that. But let's move to the right versus left dichotomy, because this is the one that actually matters, because this is the one that most people will act upon, is in this dynamic. Now, what I would disagree with Nick is he says a lot of people say it's ultimately what did he say that I thought was just dumb too? And he can attack me. I don't care. It would actually benefit me, to be honest, if he did. The point, I think, was essentially that he was attacking all of the people who have said that the left versus right paradigm isn't real. And I think the direction he was taking that was, no, it's definitely still real. There are definitely still people who are on the left, who are on the right. And it's not that everything that happens is a derivative of some larger, greater conspiracy. Where I would insert myself in between there, what I would say, this is, what's the right word? The actual framing is good versus evil. And I think that is the truer framing. But I do agree in the aspect of when he says, like, people still view these things this way. They view them red versus blue. This is real for a lot of people. And for a lot of people, the good versus evil, they are not even willing to go to, because they have reservations about making large blanket statements about people. What is holding us back is ourselves. And I'm going to quote one of the moderators in here, and trust me, I'm not attacking him by any means, and we've had conversations, and he's free to hit me up anytime. It was Donnie who said, and I'm just using him as an example. It was Donnie who had said, basically, like, I get it, but you're going to have to drag me kicking and screaming into authoritarianism. And this is what I think a lot of people feel like. I think a lot of people are here. They're here because the Overton window pushed them here. Not because, like, a lot of people are on the right because they have reacted to what the left is. So it's to say they're here not by choice. A lot of individuals. And I think a lot of them probably still have their libertarian or their more constitutionalist positions. I'm here to tell you I am not that person. And I know a lot of you guys feel that way. And I think that is the majority, actually, outside the dissident circle. And to be fair, I understand it. I get it. This is the result of the abuse. But the reality is we have arrived to a point where you and I know very damn well that the Constitution was a finite success. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. But a lot of this actually does start with recognizing that the Constitution has failed us. Or rather, the men before us failed the Constitution and now it's failing us now, or vice versa, however you want to argue that. But the Constitution is meaningless right now. It has not protected a single one of us. Now, it has in elements that are more broad encompassing in terms of like, well, you know, at least we're not blatantly being thrown into vans and rounded up. But that's the bare minimum of what it should be doing in terms of its protections, the privileges, and the rights that come with it. And it hit me really hard because Nick was explaining Jared Taylor. And as he's explaining Jared Taylor, he brings up the fact that, and again, for those of you who don't know who Jared Taylor is, right? Look up American Renaissance. Guy basically is blackballed everywhere. But he lets it be known that there's basically, in all of America, there's one venue that has the capacity and is willing to allow Jared Taylor to speak one place in all of America. While that is happening, and that is a known thing and a known element, and that is not changing because Kirk was assassinated, at the same time, our guys, us, well, as they say our guys, the right, Republicans, conservatives, are going, man, should we really do anything about speech? And that is where the thumbnail comes in. That is the meme of it's both sides. That is the meme that it is not even close to both sides. It's not close to both sides in terms of violence. It's not close to both sides in terms of institutions. It's not close to both sides in terms of policy enactment. It is not close. And Jared Taylor is a much more eloquent speaker than I. Now, I might have the voice, but he's got the intelligence. And to think this guy has basically been all but banned from speaking his thoughts in America. And our own guys, and that's not like that's not been like a couple days for Jared Taylor. Like that's not like it's been like last month for Jared Taylor. It's like that has been his life for years. I'm going to vote so hard next time. It could not be more in front of me right now as I sit and look at it that the only solution to these problems is physically we have to take the offices, right? This isn't to say like vote harder for another like APAC receiving donor class, glazing, the gun tuber who came out of nowhere. Like, no. And truth be told, and I hate saying this because I feel like it's going to put expectations out there, but it's getting to the point where I'm seriously having to contemplate, am I going to have to leverage this entire channel to win a seat somewhere in Ohio? Because I seriously, I can't do it. And I think, and let's zoom out a little bit. The reason why I have this anger is because, again, we are, and not again, the conservative, the right wing right now is about to let Charlie Kirk die in vain. And that pisses me off. And I'm going to be quite frank, I don't think enough people are pissed off enough about it. What the hell is the administration doing besides posting Bible verses and just going, man, wow, he was a good soldier, taking over for a show, going, wow, that's great, but what are you going to do about it? Hey, that's awesome. I've only seen this Charlie Kirk montage for the 4th time on X. That's cool. I'm glad you reposted it. What are we going to do about it? And then you get Cash Patel working with, talking with Jared Moskowski, whatever the hell his name is. You know what? I think we will work on reforming Section 230 and clamping down on speech. Did somebody get that Indian out of this country? Dude, insane that he even was able to swear on the Bhagavad. Whoever signed off on the decision to revoke the Bible and replace it with whatever book he swore in on should also go with him. Deport them too. What I would say is, sure, there is an argument for people who got swept up in the system. And what I mean by that is people who basically, you can't sit there and go all of these things about fatherless homes. We look at all the problems facing us. We go fatherless homes, look at all these mothers who are, raising these just terrible kids by themselves. And it's not to say it's just all single mothers too. I've seen 2-parent homes raise awful people. And then you go, well, everyone's accountable for it. At the same time, you have to allow the fact that some people did not probably, like for me, like I had a father and mother that worked hard and instilled a moral compass in me that I will forever be grateful for. A lot of people didn't have that. So you also have to not hold people to extreme expectations. But I gotta be honest, I think not celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk is not a, like that. Like if that is not the bare minimum, I'm telling you, I don't know what is. like if we can't do that, there's no line. This Republican Party will never draw a line. They will continually sit there and take it and allow you to reap the benefits of that. And I will be honest, I feel like when you begin to think about things like that, though, it gets to be a bit utilitarian. And the reality is life is hard and life is unfair. Not everybody's going to lead a life of success. No matter what system you build, the weakest links will be crushed. That is just the way that it goes. So always being concerned about, what about this sub story here? Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Well, you know what? We should let that video up of her dancing on Charlie's grave. We should leave that up. I don't feel bad for these people. And that's just reality. There's no world where you can be a fat, Twinkie breathing, do nothing, headline reading, can ever compete and should never be able to compete with a hardworking, someone who prepares for the future, family oriented. It just shouldn't. There shouldn't be a question of equity there. Reap what you get. But going back to the Constitution being a failed document, what I would probably slide in would be it was a finite success, meaning it worked until it didn't. It had an expiration date. And the crazy thing is like, did we have to get here to kind of like to know that, or at least understand the philosophy behind those principles? Really, when we have apocryphal writings from Ben Franklin and whoever else they attribute it to, of like we would need a revolution every 20 years, all of this talk about corruption, from the guys who wrote the document themselves, they were warning you, saying, hey, even in our groups, in our circles, the people that we deal with, all of this, you're probably gonna have to revolt and do this all over again in 20 years. Well, it didn't happen in 20 years. We're close to 300, but it's looking like that is going to be the path that we're on. And I just wish it wasn't. There is a bit of actionable stuff, though. Trump administration did come out and say that they are formulating a plan. I don't think anything has actually been official, but they are formulating a plan, or going to begin to enact a plan that is going to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization. So I looked into that a little bit, and we'll get into that a little bit. But to finish off the right versus left dichotomy, I'll talk about it from like my perspective as well too. Like I'm going to talk about it like just as a human being, person to person. This is just, I'm talking to you as Aaron. I'm not talking to you as Atlas Thug. I have probably went the majority of my life biting my tongue, holding myself back, forming myself into a mold of a person that I am not actually, because if I was to ever actually be myself, it would jeopardize my quality of life and my livelihood, and more often than not, my well-being. Now, it has gotten significantly better over the years, but there is still a strong mechanism just in social life. And the thing is not even in the aspect of like, it's not that I care about what these people think. It's the fact that it's the problems that come with it, right? It's the fact that what I don't want to have happening is if I say something like that I actually fully believe, and it's not like I can hide it anymore now. What I don't want is, and if this is a real story, this has happened to me. My wife's family in group chats sending clips of my show, words that I'm saying here on YouTube, and demonizing me. So opening myself up doing that threatens the relationship my daughter now has, because now I have to be concerned about what's being whispered into my daughter's ears when she's over at her family's and her friend's house. And this is not me taking shots at them, and I don't want my chat to take shots at them either. We've had discussions and conversations. It's moved to a better place. But the point is I would imagine the majority of you have some kind of operative mechanism like this in your lives too. Biting your tongue every second, not being able to just to fully say what you want. And maybe some of you do, and maybe I'm more avoidant of problems than a lot of you guys are. But that's basically been the position, for me. And I think a lot of you are like that too. So this is just to say, like, when it comes to like what the air of censorship is in the room right now, in the climate, is, bro, for years, we have basically been eliminated. We have been shoved, pushed down in a corner, can't talk, not allowed to say words. In the moment that the conservatives turn around, they turn the cannons and face them. 7 minutes pass by, and they're begging, please, we're being oppressed. This is the second longest Holocaust. Insane, dude. And the other thing is, it's on racial grounds as well. It's on heavy racial grounds. A lot of this is the aspect, and dude, run away from it if you want. A lot of this is people celebrating because they saw a white man get shot and they enjoyed that. They took pleasure in that. They saw that happen to Charlie Kirk and they said, yes. And not even probably because of what he believes, but because his skin color. Because to him, he represents something that he never was. Because they just get lied to. And this is something I need to be speaking more to as well. And I know I have black people in the audience, and trust me, I appreciate you. And I hope that you know how I feel about race, right? I'm a Christian race realist. Just because I recognize differences does not mean I think that someone's superior, this one's inferior, or that just because I see that we're different means that I hate you. The same way that you can look at me as a white man and you go, yeah, that guy has differences from me. This guy has this white guys typically have this and this. It's not a hard thing to do. But I have to speak more openly about this stuff. I have to speak more openly about the reality that is how much of this is a racialized component, how much of this is race. And the thing is too, that's crazy about it is what they'll say is they'll go, everything's not about race. Are you serious, dude? The same people who every living moment keep going, well, black man this, well, slavery, well, slavery, well, America's history, well, this. And then I go, hey, man, do you notice like how the whites, hey, come on, stop making it about race. We know that's how the conversation goes. The reality is Are you going to let that be the conversation until you breathe your last breath and then let your children have the conversation? Or are you going to change the conversation? Are you going to say, excuse me, Don Lemon, no, get your gay black ass off of my screen. Here's the actual real crime statistics. Hey, I'll support school funding if it's called the Make Black People Learn Per Capita program. And the thing that probably bothers me the most is the fact that what we had was vigils, good. For Charlie Kirk, our response was vigils, which you had leftists in multiple places. I think it was in Boston, in New York, and I think also there in Utah. You had leftists show up screaming fascist, doing the same old garbage they always do. And you know what we end up getting? Jimmy Kimmel gets booted by his own company, and leftists are already protesting that. They're already back in the streets, screaming and parroting the same dog shit stuff they have been doing for the last God knows how long. Now, I'm not trying to curse. I promise you. I know people don't like that. I'm very forward, front-facing Christian. But if you're not wrath right now, I mean, and the reality is, I'm going to say this is going to bother a lot of people. The majority of people who are in my life who are Christian and conservative, the majority of people who I've even spoke to who are like Christian and conservative, the most that you guys have done, the most wrath you guys ever exhibit is against people like me and Zeb and Josh, because we are decidedly doing something about it. Then resorting to these Bible verses. Well, every government's ordained by God. Okay, well, if I win an election, does that mean I get to do whatever the hell I want and you can't say shit about it? There's no logic in these people's positions. And to be quite frank, the church has done a strong disservice, and pastors have got a strong disservice here too. But Lord have mercy. And I don't want to be angry. I don't. But there is a righteous anger that should be had. Where is it? And here's the thing too. Well, I know I've been ranting for a while. I apologize, guys. I know you probably want me to put something on the screen. This is not that. This is what I wanted to show here, because we get more of it. It's still coming. It won't stop. You don't need the audio for this. This is a 2K face scan with 2 million views, posted September 17th. They made this. 32,000 likes, 4,000 bookmarks. Took a face scanner, Charlie Kirk, and said, "I'm dead, LOL." Like, oh man, what if they turn those things on us? They're going to anyways. And that's reality. Like, do you think that Project Esther was like not going to be implemented even if Charlie Kirk didn't die? Do you think what's coming down the pipeline isn't going to be an extreme smackdown of right-wingers like myself? It's coming anyways. Like, just look at this. What are we doing? And then here to top it off too. So let's go to the actionable stuff, right? So what was the actionable thing that they did? Why is it doing that? The actionable thing that they did. Let me find it because I have the article here. Where's the article? So it's the, oh my gosh. Well, forgive me, my internet is dying, so it doesn't mean I'm dropping frames. 1 second. Is it this one? No. Where is the... Lord have mercy. Okay, we're just looking at it on X. It's going to take a lifetime. I just need the Ken Klippenstein article. some reason it's gone from my outline, but I definitely had it earlier. So he wrote about the plan, which was to label Antifa as a terrorist organization. Forgive me, let me find this. It's actually going to bother me if I can't find this. Gotta be here somewhere. Oh, it's going to be in the Discord. That's where I posted it. Forgive me. I'm out here looking like Zeb Boykin. There we go. Okay, sorry if that's bright. Bright light. Warning. Whoop. So there's an article, September 18th from Ken Klippenstein. Going into the plan, which is for the Trump administration to designate transgender people as violent extremists. So on the surface, you go, okay, wow, that's awesome. So I read this, and as I'm reading through it, it comes off to me that it is going to be separate from labeling Antifa as a terrorist organization. I just realized that's on live. No, there we go. Okay. But here's the language they use. Now, you guys probably can't read that. They make it big. Read this. Under the plan being discussed, the FBI would treat transgender suspects as a subset of the Bureau's new threat category, nihilistic, violent extremists. Why, for the love of God, can the Trump administration just not say trans extremist, trans extremist, trans people? And then you read down here, the new classification, sources say, gives Trump officials political and media cover. Rather than directly naming transgender people as some enemy, the White House has preferred euphemisms like gender ideology and extremism. We know what the problem is. It's not nihilistic, violent extremist. Okay? Because, brother, if there was a trend or an epidemic of incels doing violent things like what all the trannies are doing, brother, we would not be getting the end of it. But I read this based on what we know from back in like 2021 and 2022 when they first pushed for it, which was to begin branching out and building fits and cells for incel groups to label them as something such as this. Now they're in a sub-threat category, and it's been a minute since I've covered it, but there are things in place that have incels basically labeled as a threat category. So this is what we're getting. Again, it's not what we want. It's like, here is a golden opportunity. Take it. And like what Sam Hyde said, this moment in time, this moment of what has happened with Charlie Kirk basically gave a golden ramp, an escalator. You can just take one step on it. You don't have to do anything. It will take you there. He could have done so much, and we're already past it. It's already worn off. Eric Swalwell is already in the streets, probably with a new honeypot, throwing around t-shirts, going, justice for Jimmy Kimmel. I'm tired, guys. I'm getting real tired. I'm getting real tired. Where are all the men? Where are all this is a Christian nation, guys. Where are all the righteous men? They in here? They in one of them frames? They in one of them still frames from Zeb's video? Where? I don't get it. We're going to do a couple of these chants. I'll go ahead and move on to some of the next stuff. We'll cover a little bit of OTO versus Nick Fuentes. Big thank you to Donnie. Thank you for the donation. He says you're wearing men's clothes, so you're not looking like Zeb. Yes, I did dress myself. And that's the other thing too. Like imagine my anger when I've spent every ounce of my time and effort building something that could potentially give me influence and power so I could fight back against this gay global homo jihad. And the only thing I get from people who I've never heard of before, who aren't doing a damn thing, are talking about earrings and what the fuck I'm wearing on my head. You unserious, pathetic cucks. Go get married, go in the gym, figure it out, struggle, suffer. Stop being these just petulant, pedantic do-nothings, man. It is entirely unhelpful. What Zeb is doing, even as wrong as he may possibly be, and I'm not saying he is, that's what we need. 40K subs in almost 2 weeks. The brother's building himself power. The brother's building himself influence, and he's going to be able to wield it. People are going to be able to refer to Zeb. Right? They're going to go, hey, I remember that guy Zeb who did this thing. That guy Zeb. You think if Zeb runs in a local race now, that the weight he'll be able to swing around in that, compared to the guy he's running against, who might just be like a random firefighter, you know, who loves Israel or something? I don't know, man. I just, you can't miss what's right in front of you for the trees, man. Can't. And then In Cahoots writes, how can you categorize a movement as a group? It's like attempting to categorize Anonymous as a group. Literally pants on head retarded. Pants on head retarded. Where's the dancing Israelis? We got some good ones in here. And right, but that is what's going to happen regardless. Regardless, they're going to clamp down on it. Regardless. So we'll cover the outside the Overton bit. We'll get into that a little bit. I'd like to, give a bit more of a take on that. And once again, thank you for that. Let me click on this. From Donnie Brooks again, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. He says, when this assassination is spoken of, they will point to the Zeb. That's funny. That's funny. But it's true. That is meaningful. What Zeb is doing is meaningful, right? Like, that is meaningful work. Good. That's what we need. What we don't need is this low IQ anti-Semitism, this kind of, that extreme kind of, vulgarity from stuff. No. But we will go to Nick reacting to a super chat he got from outside the Overton. I thought it was pretty funny. So we'll go ahead and play this. If you guys have not seen it already, I'll move myself so it's a bit easier to see.
Frame by frame a bullet coming from Kirk's 4 o'clock. It's not debatable. Ballistics are evidence. Doesn't necessarily implicate Israel, but does mean the FBI is covering this whole thing up. All Americans need to watch Ballistics Don't Lie by outside the Overton, as a previous super chatter stated. No autopsy. No bullet recovered.
Yeah, I think that's retarded. I believe there was an autopsy and they said the bullet was lodged in his spine, so I don't think that's even true. And looking at freeze frames of low-resolution videos is not ballistics, okay? Saying like, oh, I saw a pixel on a low-resolution live stream, that's a bullet. Like, yeah, I don't think so, dude. That's not
Theodore
ballistics,
Kaufman sent $40.
actually.
Hi, Nick.
Let's actually explore this. Let's explore this. I'm in the mood today. In Cahoots, what power do you have? Oh, wait, man. How many followers do you have online, bro? Not like your follower counts anything, but we are in the attention economy. To sit here and say anything but followers, views, it's meaningless, dog. You have no power. You know who else is doing a lot of shit in their community and ultimately has no fucking power? Arval. Now he's got a growing community, but he has no meaningful power. We could go to a lot of these other groups that do a lot of organization, have no meaningful power. What the actual fuck does it mean? And then he goes, I see most men sitting and bitching on streaming online. Really? This is just insane, dude. This is just insane. And setting of help load food off trucks? Yeah, because what I want to do is go loot food trucks to fucking feed kids in Africa. What is this? The majority, like, this is what I don't, this is actually from somebody who is not helping in community events. And I'm going to tell you why. I, as somebody who has multiple times looked into building different organizations, applied to different networks, have looked into things, any group that right now is institutionally backed has some left-wing aspect to it. This is insane. This is somebody who is literally talking completely out of their ass. Confused and angry at nothing. Dog. I don't know what you do, man. I don't know what you do with these people. I don't. Here, in cahoots, who filed a FOIA request for Charlie Kirk's autopsy? No, dude. Get the fuck out of my chat. Off of my channel. I don't even know how to ban you off of this shit right now, but you are gone, dog. Go back to this fucking homeless shelter, sit there and shake hands with people who you have no power, no influence over. Continue to tell yourself that that is something meaningful. Jesus, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. But this is how people think, and I don't mean to be abrasive. I don't mean to get down and be petty. But I'm going to be honest with you. This is not helpful. Telling people to go hand soup to blacks who probably got there after they blew all of their EBT cards doesn't help the problem. Going and donating money to a community event that turns around and operates and funds 45 different pro-Israel mission trips from the 3 churches in its local community doesn't help the problem. I am so tired of hearing people who have not lifted a finger in their lives saying we need to do these little gay things that have literally no meaning. We need power. We have no power. We have no representation. When they talk about conservative panels, man, when they bring on, they're going to say, hey, we're going to have these Republicans debate these people. There's not a single person that represents me or anybody in this chat for that matter. Anyways. Be nobody, do nothing. Be somebody, do something. Anyways. OTO, we'll watch that again. Well, we don't have to watch it again. But basically, Super Chat comes in. Super Chat, what you'll see here is the 4 o'clock, which I think I had it anywhere between like 3 and 6 o'clock from where I think the shot came from. There are some more frames that have been looked at, been posted, that show what appear to be a literal hole forming in the side of Kirk's head. But it's for me, it's impossible to take any of that at all as factual, especially when you know AI is involved, especially when you know the capabilities of what could be. It is very hard to trust anything, but it's not like to say that makes it easier to trust the government per se. Not at all, to be quite frank with you. So what you do get though is this super chat. So Up the Raw, shout out to them because they sent $50 to get this over to Nick, and he basically says, "I don't believe it, or I think it's too much." When he responded to the last one, he said he would like kind of look into it. You know, he'd think about it. I don't know if he actually looked into it or not. I kind of highly doubt that he did. I think he's kind of just reserving that thought based on what he's seen. Nothing extremely conclusive. It's just a lot of maybe this is true, if this is true. But what I wanted to focus on from that though was there is this extreme balkanization. You're getting even more of accounts going at each other, arguing, screaming at each other. You're getting it from like these Tony accounts, you know, obviously there's probably Groyper accounts that are going to be going after Zeb, calling him a conspiraschizo or a conspiratard, whatever the new language is. And that is not what we want, right? We don't want to be infighting at an extremely pivotal moment. But that is the reality of the situation. So overall, I mean, we're going back to status quo. And that's like the absolute last thing that I would have wanted to have come from the situation. It's going right back to status quo. Because it does pain me, not like I'm going to sit here and cry, but it pains me and it makes me angry that this could be for nothing. And add on top of there that it already seems like Donald Trump and those who are supposedly close to him that had the inside access around the White House seemingly don't even care that much either. Because I don't know about you, man, but if my friend was taken from me in a way such as that, and I, for a second, had even like a slightest bit of doubt or anything, I would not stop until I was at the ends of the earth to figure out what that was. But that's not what I'm seeing from them. I'm seeing a lot of, well, I bet Charlie would have, after getting shot, Charlie definitely would have turned on hate speech. He would have thrown his whole First Amendment argument out the window. He would vote for hate speech laws. Yes. That was disgusting. So let's just get into some topical news. I'm very thrown off. Like I had said at the beginning of this episode, something happened to me and my wife in our personal lives, and I should have been maybe a bit more coming about that. So I'm a little disturbed, to say the least, and not that that's an excuse. But that guy's just a literal idiot. Let's start here. Let's scroll all the way back up. And we're going to go cover Destiny. Destiny and his consequences. And that is the reality of which that what we're getting from Destiny is hilarious. And it's funny, and we're making fun of him. And how could you say anything other than, what did you expect? So there's 3 clips have kind of blown up from this. This is the first one. The other 2 both come from inside the event, but this was when he was outside. Very similar setup to what we see from Charlie Kirk. But he was heckled. So listen into a little bit of this. I'm going to turn it down some because I do think they scream a little bit. But here it is.
In the United States, I think we look to our leadership.
Take the dick out of your mouth, you fucking faggot!
Where'd your dog go?
Fucking loser! You're a piece of shit, and everybody knows that you call for more money.
Good job.
Is your boyfriend know you're against MAGA? coward.
Spanish is sucker's bar. Or for him, maybe too, I guess.
For the rest of the crowd, try to be respectful.
So it just doesn't stop. This lady tries, or who knows what that is, tries basically calming everybody down. It turns into a fight. I think they literally did start like fist fighting each other, which like, of course, but I think the point is to be made. Like, what did you ultimately expect from that? This is the guy who said, I believe it was the day or 2 days after, no, conservatives need to be afraid. Basically saying and arguing that it's up to that it's the conservatives' responsibility to get our leadership and pundits and thought leaders to turn down the temperature, when the reality is it's just not even true. Sex Pestany, yes, Mr. Sex Pestany himself. It is ultimately a very big joke, if you will. This wasn't the only instance. He also gets harassed in 2 other instances. Both of these were inside. Now, the one is actually really funny. This is actually from a black guy, I believe. So let's actually watch this one in full, because it's a bit of a confrontation. And you guys will enjoy it.
Charlie Kirk's fucking life matters.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Kirk's fans want revenge. What do we do? And
you know what's so interesting as a black man? One thing I noticed about Charlie Kirk's death, there wasn't rioting in the streets like it was after George Floyd. That's the one thing that I noticed about Charlie Kirk's death. And it's so interesting that you want to cherry pick and nitpick and use odd examples that benefit you, but you deliberately want to have blind vision to see that the radical left ideology that has been influencing this country for the past 20 years led to the death of Charlie Kirk.
Why did the DOJ remove from their website the study on radical, politically inspired violence over the past decade?
I have no knowledge.
You don't know anything about that?
No.
Okay.
I have no knowledge.
Transgender.
And then so what? He resorts to a study. I don't know, like maybe just like I open my eyes when I walk down Main Street, like, hello, like, what? I mean, just take this. Just take what's going on right now, for example. Charlie Kirk, political violence. He's gone. We hold vigils. The left disrupts those vigils, has their own kind of awkward, weird protest. I don't think there was any that big, but there was a couple. And then when something happens to Jimmy Kimmel, they're right back in the street. They're demanding for justice and they're organizing. The right is going to have to catch up. And then they go in and they go, with political violence, it's just like, that's insane to me. It's just insane. Looks like Juan Mi says that study doesn't count leftist violence as political violence, by the way. Of course it doesn't, But, props to the black dude for coming up and saying, like, listen, dude, there's a clear and obvious, visible difference. Like, we who have eyes and can recognize patterns can see this.
Should be able to own guns.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's
You
it's a
guess?
Second Amendment right, yeah.
You
sure.
guess?
It's a Second Amendment right, no?
Why do they keep on shooting fucking schools then?
Well, aren't the most
Them,
common
they,
school
whatever
shooters
the
white
fuck you
guys?
wanna call it,
White
why
men
the
should be
fuck?
disallowed from owning guns?
Do you think that being transgender is a mental illness?
I don't have an opinion
Do
on it
you
for this
think-
audience right now.
Do you
Do
think?
you think most school shooters were white men?
It's all part of the narrative, dude.
Yeah, the narrative
It's
is
all
you're not
part of the
answering my
narrative,
question.
and you
Yeah.
know it.
Go ahead, preach. We're in church
You
right
know
now.
it.
Go ahead.
They said that the guy that shot Charlie was a Republican.
Can you answer
he
me this?
wasn't.
If trans people are such effective assassins, why do we kick them all out of the military?
Looking at this one right here, I want to get this fucking
Are
thing
you
a gun.
serious, dude? Get the fuck out of here. Get this.
Dude, that got me so good when I saw it the first time. I mean, but it's true. Like that's the reality of it. I mean, we this needs to be brought back into a position of like it's got to be. Listen, if Laura Loomer can't own weapons, neither can trans people. We're calling it even. Our schizo can't have weapons. Your schizos can't have weapons. We'll call it even there. Like, that's where we'll end it. We'll drop it. But then he gets mad and he calls out bullying, right? He's like, don't bully them, bully me. And it's like, dude, there's no like, you're low hanging fruit, Destiny. Like we can't go any lower, dude. And it's not even fun to make fun of Destiny because like he probably gets off on it. Like, you're a cuck, dude. You enjoy being violated. You enjoy being humiliated. Why would I play into your fetish, Destiny? Like, I thought that was good. And it was a good shout out there with what's his face? Whatever that black guy's name is. I think he actually has a bit of a following. Unfamiliar with who he is though. But that's karma, ultimately. So if he was willing to have that for right wingers, well then you're just getting exactly what you asked for. Now on to something that's a bit more, I guess, national news, if you will. Something that's a bit more federal and does need to be addressed immediately. This is from Nick Fuentes, and it is confirmed that Ilhan Omar, I'll make it a bit bigger. Ilhan Omar married her brother. Her marital records, again, obtained by Steven Crowder. This is immigration fraud. He says they need to start revoking her citizenship immediately. I agree. There is no thinking about this. This is what you need to do, is not only revoke her citizenship, but there needs to be such thing as like a trigger vote or something. Like, she needs to be removed from power immediately. If you come to find out, and I would go so far as to say, you need to revoke any policy that she has introduced herself, any bill that she has authored, co-authored, sponsored, they all have to go. Any ounce of that has to get taken down. There's no way that we should stand for a non-citizen, a immigration fraudster, to have any remnant of any law or policy she tried to push in this country, period. Zero. None. And I hope that's what we get. I hope that what we get, truthfully, truly, is maybe this would be the thing that Trump would go, okay, we'll give you guys what you want. Maybe. But this is all that we get. We're getting a lot of this. A lot of new, breaking, wow, crazy, liberal, leftist did this. Now this, leftist did this. And then they go and they have their, Josh Hawley has his, his clips will be littered through the next week of him, Ilhan Omar. And then 2 weeks later, she is importing 4 bajillion Somalians into Minneapolis. So until a Republican does a literal thing at all, I will not applaud you. I will not, nothing, zero. Do something, and maybe you would get a little bit of like an applause or like, okay, you got to keep the pressure on. And of that, though, we'll get into some of the new evidence. And I am going to rush this a little bit. Not because I'm afraid of anything, but because I do think I'm a little too angry to be streaming right now, to be honest with you. So this is from Hustle, from Hustle Biatch, but he's taking it from Candace. This is released from Candace. So this is a new kind of angle in the entire narrative, which is that Candace Owens shared a photo of Charlie Kirk's alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, and he was at a Dairy Queen in Orem at 6:38 p.m. after the shooting. And it's only 17 minutes from campus. So that by itself threw me off a little bit, because I believe, as they said, he was caught in within 36 hours. But from the report that I had remembered reading, he had been caught over 250 miles away. So it keeps going back and forth between some of the timeline disparity there. And maybe I'm wrong about the timeline there, but this is obviously a bit weird. And I think that's how most of these things are. It's obviously just a bit weird. But again, he doesn't seem like he's afraid or anything. And maybe that's a part of it. Maybe he's just his hormones, his adrenaline's running so hot, so fast that he just is reverting to like very basic things. Or maybe he's well aware of what's about to happen to him, and he wants to make sure he gets DQ before he, never sees the light of day again. But that was one of the new angles there. This includes the map photo and shows you just how close he was. 17 minutes away. So there's the DQ, and there's the college down here. Then one thing that I do think is a bit aggressive in terms of like, what is it? And this goes in line with the construction. We'll wait till I get to a still frame here. But that is it. That is what we are seeing. This is from Jack Wallace. It's from the Wallace brothers. These guys just constantly grift and engagement farm and all that. Let me move myself. So this is now alongside the construction happening literally on the exact spot where Kirk was shot. Now the new theory is, here is this trapdoor that Charlie Kirk was absorbed through, right? I think I think what did Nick say, that he it's like a magician's trick. He fell through the trapdoor, got transported to Tube City, and they flew him out to Tel Aviv or something like that. I don't know, but it is something. And I think that the construction by itself is curious. Like, what? It's like hard to believe. And one thing I will say has a lot of more credibility to it is the fact that you do have, not only is there the construction, but then you have the you have the guy who takes the SD card out of the camera that's facing him from behind. He apparently hands it off to another guy. That guy just walks off. It looks like he puts it in his hat. Then you also have, on top of that, you have the chair that Kirk was sitting in when he was shot, that's covered in blood, that he fell over in. The guy who takes the camera just flips it around, stands on it, grabs it, resets it back. So you have not only the aspect of the camera being removed, but you have what is actually obvious, is that is tampering with evidence. I mean, what was that guy thinking? Now, I might not be thinking in the right state of mind, but I believe there was a statement that has surfaced from him that basically said, he wanted to make sure that it didn't end up in the wrong hands. So what we know about that camera is supposedly the contents of such were quickly transported and handed over to the FBI. The only thing is I don't believe the FBI has corroborated that on their end yet. Which is, the chain of custody of this camera. So this is this guy. So we'll go ahead and play this and let them talk about it here. This is going to be Tucker Carlson with the producer and the Tim Pool lookalike, who have been basically raping the Charlie Kirk show with all of their thoughts and minds. So we'll take a listen to this, but this is kind of their position on it, or they're going to talk about it a little bit, but it does follow suit with this individual here, whom I'm sure everyone in this chat have seen a million times because the videos are all you can find on X. But I think this is the full one. So it cuts back. And so you'll see here, he's going to take it out. Supposedly he takes the SD card out. The other guy's going to walk behind here. So what you're going to see is right here. He gets the card out, this guy. Supposedly what is happening, what they're saying, is he gets the attention of this guy here, hands him the SD cards, and this is the part I think is ridiculous, is he puts them in his hat. He does put his hat on there, and then walks off. Now, he very well probably might have gave him the SD card, but the people who are attaching the extra length of like, he hid it in his hat as if like an SD card's like already not small enough. You couldn't just like hold it in the palm of your hand. is, again, but this is why I think it is. I think the reason, and I'm going to be honest, I think the reason why you are getting such a strong pushback from Nick on a lot of these, you know, whether it's a low IQ anti-Semitism or it's just like the conspiracy tard stuff in general, is because it does open itself up to less, I think less so in the conservatard aspect, but more so in the Israel aspect. It's opening the door for them to go, look how many of them are just hateful and blindly hate without evidence. It opens the door for them to go to the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, and they go, yeah, man, so how do we implement Project Esther? How harsh should we set the tolerance level for anti-Semitism? Should everyone be permanently banned if they question Israel? You know, and that, but like that is what is awaiting on the other side of that. And that's not from the element of, you know, us wanting there to be a cost for celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. This is on this element of, if so many people on our side start going on these ridiculous tangents, zeroing in, A-logging all of this, it does open itself up for the government to go, look how many posts there are, look at all of this anti-Semitism, and they'll use that as an excuse to go, yes, we are going to actually have to tighten down on censorship on social media. That I see that as a more meaningful and realistic pathway than one where, in a moment of heated passion, when we were demanding that people would take action. And that's the thing, it's like, you need a law to be passed. Why can't Elon just ban some of these people? Why doesn't Blue Sky just ban some of these people? Why doesn't Instagram? YouTube apparently already did. YouTube did demonetize, right? You don't need some kind of blanket policy to come down from the divine order to forever be set in stone and be used as precedent against us in the future. It's like, no, like, can we just get people who are in positions, who are capable of doing things, to perhaps maybe do the bare minimum of just, you know, getting rid of some of that? I didn't think that was a hard ask. But the big thing is going to be the autopsy for Charlie Kirk. So I have prepared the materials for this, and I have been waiting to get a response. I'm probably not going to. Of filing the FOIA request to get the autopsy information from Charlie Kirk. And this has become glaring to me. And I hate to use John Cullen as well, because John Cullen also has Zeb Boykin blocked, but this is just the nature of things. We are arguing and fighting amongst ourselves. So it caught my attention that when Nick had cited the autopsy, he had mentioned that, and I've seen it floated elsewhere, it's not like it was just Nick pushing it, that it was supposedly reported by someone somewhere that the bullet struck Kirk in the spine. The bullet also had not been produced, and a few other elements there that, okay, so somebody probably had to have seen a autopsy to be able to come out that information. And the answer to that is no, as far as I understand. So I went and actually looked at it, and as far as I believe, Utah's one, if not, maybe there's a couple other states, but I think they're the only one, that their autopsy go through a very specific process in the cases of homicide, and that the only people who are able to receive that information is next of kin, and I believe next of kin even has to file a request for said information. So I'm hoping that I will be able to pass as an investigative journalist, because I had to file, you know, as for, you know, legal reasons. It's like, it's weird how they word these things. So hopefully we can get autopsy information, because here's the truth. The autopsy would confirm, prove, and disprove a lot of things, and would give us a lot of clarity as to what is going on right now. And if they think that we are in any position to sit there and just take the word of Eric Kirk, I'm going to take the word of a Candace Owens, I'm going to take the word of a Kash Patel, you are retarded. Got to produce it. And even with that, even if they produce the evidence, there's still the element of like, wow, man, did they fudge the numbers here? Did they generate this with Chat GPT? Right? It's like there's zero trust. And that is the bigger point here. There is zero trust. Nobody believes anything. Nobody trusts anybody. And you can't get out of that without having a long, uninterrupted period of constant transparency, constant honesty. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think that we will ever get anything like that. But as for John Collins' post, as it pertains to the autopsy of Charlie Kirk, he writes that Charlie Kirk was shot at 12:09 p.m. local time, September 10th. September 10th, Lord forgive me. The doctors pronounced him dead about an hour and a half later. And so he poses the question, when was Charlie's body transferred to the mortuary for embalming? He says in the timeline here that J.D. Vance got in Salt Lake City on the Air Force Two around 2:30 p.m. the next day, and that Vance departed about 2 hours on the ground back to Arizona with Charlie Kirk, because they did use Air Force Two to take Kirk back. So then it stands to reason, so was Charlie embalmed in Utah, and then by whom? And he says, based on available reports, the autopsy likely started on the evening of September 10th or early on September 11th at the OME facility in Taylorsville, Utah, after the body was released from Timpanogos Regional Hospital. The crazy thing is when I searched it myself and I asked Grok myself to search for sources, it kept sourcing Reddit, because there is no source that talks about the autopsy besides those news articles that are just basically pointing out that we don't have it. And so I don't know much about the embalming details, but again, the timeline there it begins to get a little curious. So make of that what you will. That I think would be that. So I think the autopsy in the back end camera, which you would think that 2P USA has access to, or at least the FBI now at this point, would publicly release it in some form. But then it gets to the point of, I wish the 2P USA would have just released it on their end and then given it to FBI. That way we wouldn't just have to sit there and believe and trust in the FBI. That is the part that sucks, because I don't think, no matter what the FBI could produce, where people are not going to buy it. And so how do you correct for that? I don't know. That Donald Trump was supposed to be the answer to that. Dan Bongino was supposed to be the answer to that. You know, Matt Gaetz, who didn't end up there, was supposed to be the answer to that. Pete Hegseth was supposed to be the answer to that. J.D. Vance was supposed to be the answer to that. And it's just went backwards. It's now not only does the left and part of the right, you know, when Biden was there, not believe in the government. Now after the Epstein debacle, nobody believes in the government. Nobody trusts the government. And in fact, the average person does probably go to work angry, thinking that their lives are entirely dictated by a cabal of elite individuals. We need the autopsy. We need the autopsy. So that is why, like I said earlier, I am filing the FOIA request. I have it filled out. I don't know if I sent it to the right place, to be honest with you. So I'm going to file multiple. Hopefully that doesn't harm my chances of being able to get the information released. But tag the other big creators, guys. You need to tag other individuals. You need to be tagging Cernovich. You need to be tagging Candace Owens. You need to be tagging Tucker Carlson. Why do these know-it-alls? Why have they not filed FOIA requests? Where are they? Where are the calls for the FOIA requests from these people who are, you know, of some level distrusting of the official narrative? So where are the FOIA requests, right? And then you run into the reality of, like, maybe there isn't even an autopsy to have anyways. That is also terrifying. Very terrifying. Because I just don't know what you do in that situation, because the FBI, you can't trust the FBI. People will default. And that's the thing too. It's like, that's the whole idea of like alternative media. The reason why people are going to alternative media is because they don't trust not only the government, but they also don't trust the mainstream media, which is why alternative media is growing. This is why people go to TikTok to know what happened to Charlie Kirk, not Fox News. So this weird belief that the FBI can just continually just do these ridiculous things, these errant things, and then we're going to trust them with, I mean, but they already know that. They're just taking advantage of the fact of the reality, really, that the people who are the most pissed off are also the ones the most likely to do nothing. I think Samhite spoke to that as well, too. You know, the left is the most willing, but they're the least capable of violence. The right is the least willing, but the most capable. And it is just a sad part of the world, sad state of our society, is if Charlie Kirk being publicly executed wasn't enough for you guys to do something. I don't know what it would take. Maybe it all has to be personal, right? Right? Like Gypsy Crusader. Maybe you guys personally need to be jumped outside of a Planet Fitness like me to open your eyes about how black people operate. Maybe, I don't know. But that's just like a dark feeling. Because honestly, it's not going to come. If it doesn't come now, it just won't. It just won't. And then you got to start thinking at the same time, like, maybe we do pack it up here, guys. Maybe we do go hide in Alaska somewhere. Maybe we go do what Arval did, man. Maybe we decide it's not even worth it anymore. Maybe we decide that there's no amount of anything that could get the average man to stop guzzling beer and watching football on Sunday for at least a couple hours to concern himself with the things that ultimately matter. I know. I probably need to stop taking shots at people all the time. I can't. That is what defines my politics, and the reason why I do what I do and why I've done what I've done is defined by the anger of when I watch other people do it and I go, what is this? Why are you lying? Why aren't you doing anything? I think that's pretty much the majority of what I had in the overview. We'll see. I'm not going to take sides in Zeb Boykin versus Nick. I'm not going to take sides. I'll play it by ear. The thing is, it's like I don't have an agenda. There's no dog in the fight. I'm not rooting for anyone to be right. I'm just like, I just want to know what is real. I just want to know what the truth is. I just want my country to be Christian again. I want white people to not live in a perennial state of racial cuckoldry. I want to not have to explain myself to my own parents-in-law of like why certain music needs to not be played around my daughter. I want to be able to have a conversation in public for longer than 15 minutes without somebody saying, oh, hey, look how hot this guy or girl is on a random TV screen 45 feet away in a bar. I want to, maybe the things I want just aren't even possible, but I want men, for one, to be men. But two, I want my nation to actually be a nation that represents me. I want it to be a nation that I can be proud of. I want it to be a nation that I can feel comfortable allowing to raise my daughter when I'm not here. And let's face it, guys, you can be a helicopter parent. You can be whatever parent you want to be. You are ultimately like 50 to 60% of what raises your child. As much as you can fight against it, the outside influences will help raise your child. Same thing with your child's friends. And that is why it matters that you have more reach than just what you have at home. It matters that our guys are in positions that are meaningful. It matters like guys like me are in the streaming network, right? It matters that we have our people here. And that was one thing I had thought about too. I thought I'd make a video just on that. Thank you for the super chat, Donnie. He said I'm Team Zeb on this one. Donnie's just a low IQ anti-Semite. I'm just kidding. He knows I jest. it hit me because I saw that Sovereign Bra. Many of you don't, maybe not familiar with him, but he used to be a regular goer on the whatever podcast, ultimately before Andrew Wilson ended up taking over. I believe Sovereign Bra had issues with his grandmother or somebody he was staying with there in California, so pray for him. But it hit me when I saw Kai Schwimmer and Sovereign Bra streaming, as well as somebody else. I can't remember who the third person was. And it hit me, and I was like, I've never seen that many upstanding, physically healthy white men streaming at the same time, and it was two. It was two of them. And then it hit me. I was like, "You're right, man." I have become so accustomed to when I look at the streamer network, it is either some fat Indian, or it is a whore, or it is some like disformed destiny sitting in their chair like, "Oh guys, well, what are we gonna do today?" And it's like, how did that dominate the streaming network? Or it's just a bunch of blacks like Kai Cenat, and they're doing crazy shit on stream all the time. That's a little bit more entertaining. That's kind of like, I guess, outside what I'm attacking here, because if it's actually entertaining, it's entertaining. And you look at this and you're like, I'll take it. And this is what we want. We should be dominating on YouTube. When I open up YouTube, I want it to be flooded. I want it to be flooded with what makes a man. Christian nationalism. 10 reasons why you should pick up your Bible today. Right? Like, I want to see like that's what I want to see. I want the streamers to be stuff like that. I don't want it to be, this dysgenic kind of stuff. It's so all of it, bro. None of it. Cypher's Basement said, "My voice." And I'm going to leave off, I think, with this. Well, I hate to say leave off. I'll probably go for a little bit longer. This is kind of odd because it's I didn't think it would be a thing. Yeah, it's fake. Sometimes it's software glitches. If you are a homosexual man, please do not message me. Please do not message me. I'm I will block you. And this goes for women too. I am married. Please stop messaging me. I'm not even going to be friendly with you about it. Stop. I've been very vocally married for a very long time. I also have perma-banned chest hair from the stream. You guys will never see that again. You don't even want to see how many homosexual men have been in my DMs. I didn't even know there was a secondary feature where you could click on that says show message request. Dog, that was disgusting. But at the same time, it puts you back in this, like, is that all what these guys think about, right? It's like, is it all sex in the end of the day? What's that scene from Game of Thrones where they're talking about the eunuchs and all the guys, and they're like, why would these guys fight? They don't have cocks. And he was like, well, for money. And the guy turns and he was like, I've been in the army for a long time. What do you think these guys spend their money on? And it goes back to, I can't remember, it's one of the Lannisters, but he was like, maybe it is all cocks in the end. It's very funny. Somebody asked me how much I bench. I don't even know right now. I have no idea. Not as much as it used to be. This didn't follow. I had like a long break from going to the gym and being a trainer and wasn't even in that world for a bit. I blew up to 260 pounds. I dropped to like 190. So again, if you might even see it in one of the intro clips, bro, I was getting fat. I was getting fat. Brother, I was getting so fat when I stood up, my rolls didn't disappear. Like, that's when I knew. Like, we're going to the gym, and I couldn't. And because I couldn't go to the gym, I was like, well, I'm not going to eat then because I don't need to be eating. Like, that's when it's bad, dog, is when I stand up and the rolls stay. I'm like, no. Oh, no. It's got to go. Send the woman to dark cell. I could do that. I just caught that message, definitely. And so I guess where I leave off with is I am on the journey of my clean break away from any libertarian values. I am not a constitutionalist. My loyalty is to God. It is to Jesus Christ. I will source my immorality from the Bible. I am a firm believer the Constitution probably needs to be entirely rewritten. Oh, Anthony Tony, who is Zeb? Zeb Boykin. Funny, most people put that in there. Zeb Boykin. Okay. He's one of the co-hosts, probably the lead co-host, I would say. Him and Josh Vandernoord run Outside the Overton. I've hosted them a couple of times before they had their big blow up. They run the channel called Outside the Overton. I can put it on screen here in a second. They went from basically 3,000 subscribers to 40,000 subscribers in like 48 hours because Zeb had a video take off because he went and took the time to demonstrate an alternative angle in the form of like the ballistics, basically proposing that the official narrative from the FBI is wrong. The shooter shot from a different angle. That's who Zeb Boykin is. That's why I've been mentioning him so much. Yes, Zebulon, head of the Field Liggers. Yes. Let me, do I even follow Zeb? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I do. But where is he? I saw people change their profile pics to all of this stuff. It's the, what is it? Zeb Boykin, right here. Outside the Overton, take me there. They might be at 40K now. Oh, it looks like it's slowing down a little bit. But this is their channel, Outside the Overton. I'll zoom in a little bit. Outside the Overton, they just talk about how homosexual they are and that they're actually super far left. They're outside the Overton to the left. I'm just kidding. But it was this video in particular, not any of their streams. Is this one. Hitting about 500,000 views. Ballistics don't lie, a video I didn't want to make. That is who that is. Outside the Overton, yeah, huge fans of him over here. That was gonna be the next thing I was gonna talk about. Am I gonna be on the Overton podcast this weekend? I will. I'm not sure who all is going to be there. I'm only going to say the names of the people who I've heard so far, but it's a pretty decent roster. It's gonna be myself, Zeb, I believe Kai Clips is also going to be there. Pine Sap is going to be there, and I'm not sure if I should mention more names than that. Those are the ones that I've had floated to me and I believe have been confirmed, so I'm going to just leave it at that. That's going to be at 3 p.m. tomorrow, Saturday. 3 p.m. I'm not, I'm so bad on the time zones. 3 p.m. And you get to decide if it's Central, Eastern, or Western, or whatever. Atlantic. I'm not. I get them wrong so many times. But yes, the flash in that video is compelling. That is basically what's a big foundational piece of their argument. You can see up in the rooftop inside the building, appropriately timed with the shot, you can see this flash, which would be the muzzle flash. Some people say it's actually not timed up, but you can go watch that video for yourselves. I have a hard redirect link to it in my last video as well, so if you wanted to see that there too, you can. But shout out to them, and good work for them too as well. And I think, great timing. But yes, looks like Steve said he heard Pine Sap. I'm not sure. Whoever else maybe appearing. There's a couple names I've saw, but I didn't see that they were confirmed. Possibly maybe even John Ward, I think. I don't know though. And there is a chance, I think, that Zeb may not even be there because he may end up having another appearance. But I don't want to speculate. I'm just speaking out of my ass right now at this point. But 3 p.m., that's the last message that I got. And and if for whatever reason, if it falls through or something, I'll still I'll stream regardless, and I'll put some content out there. And yeah. I think that basically covers the majority of it. There are some other things I wanted to get into, but I really don't want to piss myself off again. Huge thank you to that for Mr. Lord of the Ring. He said, keep an eye out for the 3D model. That is one thing too. I guess I'll show for that as well. Zeb has been continually begging people, whether it's in Blender or Unreal Engine, whatever, he needs a 3D render of the campus area. I believe he's gotten a few people started on a few hours ago. I've not seen anything too deep on that. Thank you again for the super chat though, but that is what he needs help with next. So if anybody has any skills or ability to help with any of that, definitely reach out to him and help him with that. And he says, bruh, Notre Dame plays at 3:30 and he has mass at 4:30. That's fine, man. Don't skip mass, skip Notre Dame. I'm messing. I might have the Buckeyes like sitting somewhere, lit up over there. But with that, I don't want to trail off too much, then end up, this stream ended up being majority about what the title is not about. But that's basically the point. We need men in positions of power. We need men, and to get men into positions of power, they need to do things worthy of obtaining power. And in order to do something worthy of obtaining power, they need to have something worth that other people want, whether it's a skill, an asset, a company, a venue, anything. You have to find a way to obtain influence and power. And not just, and no, that doesn't mean like you making, 50, 60K a year doing whatever. That's nothing. Everyone's doing that. What you need is actual power and influence. Find the time, spend a couple extra hours a day, work on something, build a second project. And it doesn't even have to be in the realm of the attention economy. I would argue that I think the attention economy is the most meaningful. It's the most influential. And I think obviously, because when you go, well, when this said this and this said this, it's video format, you're watching it again. I don't think that argument needs to be made. I think that's common sense, to be quite frank with you. But there are other elements, and that could be something as simple as building an enterprise, building a company from the ground up. There's other venues that you can do that. But going along with the institutions that are already there, handing out food to people who probably are going to do heroin 3 hours later from then, is not helpful in the direction of building this movement. Is it a nice thing to do? Yes. Is it a godly thing to do? Yes. Is it going to stop white genocide? No. Is it going to open up transparency into our three-letter agency? No. Not even close. Sure, it might help some people. Definitely. But we got to think long-term. We got to think of meaningful generational changes that will exist long past the kids of our kids. And you got to be willing to do things, right? You have to be willing to plant the seed for a tree in which you will never sit beneath. You have to be willing to take risks that ultimately completely compromise you, destroy your life, in the hopes that it benefits someone else that you may never meet. If you don't have that level of conviction, go home, watch the NFL, and get out of this fight. With that, Christ is King. As always, deport Cash Patel. Fire Pam Bondi at this point, maybe even jail her for being so criminally retarded. But in general, ban her from public life. Stop being offended by the most basic funny jokes. And Lord help us and Lord have mercy. Maybe at one point we will get our nation back and our country back. Praise God. Pray for Charlie Kirk's family. Pray for Charlie Kirk's daughters. And pray for your own families and pray for this nation. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Take care. Peace out.